Raise the flags, raise the flags. Hit them fast, secure the bag. Don't even blink, make them walk the plank. Light them up, let's make them sing. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. On Bucs, yeah, we on. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. The whole field's our red. Let me give you 55 reasons why this is our season. Palm trees breezing, opposing teams bleeding.
Do not adjust your screen. This is not Tampa Tones. This is Gene and my man J-Lo. We're here covering Buccateers, talking about what's going on with the Buccaneers as well as what's going on in the NFL. And again, as I mentioned, I'm joined with my man J-Lo. How you doing today, my friend?
Doing good, man. Doing very good, man. How you doing?
Oh man, enjoying life, man. I tell you what, last season was so fun that it going into the off season, it made it fun. So once all these people that got signed, all these moves that have been made have occurred, it just makes it that much more fun. So I'm just, enjoying everything that's going on throughout the NFL, and it's not so much worried about, hey, what are the Bucs going to do,
No, of course, man. I mean, this has been another fun off season watching the Bucs resign our guys back, and we had a couple pieces. Some of them officially signed today that was announced on social media. So to me, I'm comfortable. I'm fine with, the moves we made so far. I can't complain.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think the main thing is to upgrade, and you don't want to take any steps back from the previous season. And just a lot of the moves that we've seen in free agency, which, by the way, has been, in my opinion, phenomenal, just, based on everything that's happened from Baker to Jordan Whitehead to Jordan Whitehead to Antoine Winfield Jr. I don't know why I just drew a blank. That's just so crazy. But just different moves, adding all these key pieces. So if you wouldn't mind telling some of the listeners, I don't know, people may have been at work. What changes, what moves have been made today by the Bucs?
Basically, for me, I just like the key pieces. They added the guard depth. I'm pretty stoked about that. And then adding the corners between Bryce Hall. No, it's Bryce Hall. Sorry. Bryce Hall, and then the other corner, I think it's Tavierre Thomas. Hopefully, I didn't mean to butcher your name, my man, but he'll end up
I think it's Tavierre Thomas.
I think so, but he should be able to push Christian Izzy in because he did a pretty good job being a nickel last season for the Texans. The only problem is he could be a little injury prone. So either way, we're adding depth pieces, which I think is key, and it's going to make our draft picks even easier the first 3 rounds.
Yeah. And I think what makes this so good is you can get the best player on the board at this point. I mean, just based on the moves that have been made, there's no, screaming need for a certain position. You can get that player that you want, that you can keep around for a long time, that can, you hope that they can instantly contribute to the team.
No, exactly. And I think that they all could be contributors. I mean, I'm excited to see what these 2 guards do battling out. Maybe they're not like big-time signings, but to me, it's depth pieces. You never know when an injury goes down in the NFL, and you got these 2 experienced guys that have starting experience to get in there and play ball. I'm really feeling we might go wide receiver in the first round. I'm getting strong feeling about it because how all the depth pieces we're adding, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself.
What's interesting, you say that. I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I mean, you could get the best player on the board now. And, if this is a guy that's going to come in and help this team, nobody should really be upset about any of these moves that are being made. So, just if you're grading, these last few picks, how do you grade this, or do you wait to see what these guys do in preseason, or how everything shakes out in camp?
I mean, to me, I would give it a B because, they have experience, and there might be A's depending how they perform in training camp in the preseason. It just really depends. It's looking like Hainsey might be the starting center again, which I'll be okay with, or they'll
Mhm.
bring competition hopefully to push him. I feel like you got to establish the offensive line if you're going to be able to run the football and protect Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to shout out everybody in the chat: Eric Moreno, MKG Vegas, Christopher Cole, Bud Cannibals, and Justice Muhammad. Thank you guys so much for jumping on and checking it out on a lazy Monday. And there's not, as far as the Bucs go, there's not a whole lot going on right now. And the Bucs are, slowly but surely building this team for how they want it, going into the season. And the one thing that I don't think gets talked about enough is the relationship that Todd Bowles has with Jason Light, and he's able to get the players that Todd can use, for this defense, or uh, even helping the offensive coordinator to get the players that he needs. So again, this is really exciting to see where we are. And again, there's not a whole lot going on, but I did want to kind of go around the league, and if there's something being said in the chat, we can come back to it and revisit it. No, no big hurry. I'm just glad everybody's here to check us out. And I wanted to start with the quarterback room for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I want to get your thoughts on that. And how do you think this is going to shake out?
I mean, I was quite shocked on what the Bears got for Justin Fields. And I feel bad for the kid because I feel like he deserves to go out there and play, not sit behind Russell Wilson. Because I believe Mike Tomlin already contacted Russell Wilson, told him you're the starter, but we're trading for Justin Fields, so we don't want you feeling some type of way. But Tomlin pretty much stated that Wilson's going to be the quarterback. So the only thing I could think of is, could it be another trade bait for Justin Fields? Like, could the Steelers use that in the draft coming up and maybe get a third or fourth round pick and upgrade in the draft stock? Because there's like three other teams that could really use Justin Fields realistically. I can throw on top of my head: Denver for sure. Vegas got Gardner Minshew, but he ain't better than Justin Fields in my opinion. Minnesota, another division rival. I don't think Sam Darnold's better than Justin Fields. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think Russell Wilson's in a better situation in Pittsburgh than he was in Denver. And Fields, it'll be interesting to see if he's really going to sit behind Russell Wilson for a year.
You know what? I honestly believe that would benefit him if he did. I believe the Steelers organization, and again, not knocking the Bucs or anything like that, but the Steelers organization, top to bottom, has always been gold standard for the NFL, just the way they've handled business. And you've looked at their roster, and you're like, oh, this team ain't going to the playoffs, and lo and behold, they're in the playoffs. And so I believe the way they're building this up, if they can keep that defense healthy, I think he can definitely learn from Russell Wilson, and he can learn the system, and be ready to take over going into next season if that's exactly what it looks like it is to me. Um, I think it's great. Justin Fields wanted to be in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh wanted to have him, and that's the kind of marriage you want right there. And you can build. I just don't think that Chicago was a good situation for somebody like a Justin Fields. I really don't know what to make, other than you really need that coach and that GM to be on the same page, and it really needs to work. And I just don't feel like Chicago is just there yet. To me, I'll kind of dip off of this conversation because I do have something else I wanted to kind of ask you, kind of correlating to Chicago, but just the way I look at this, Chicago, I know they're getting these pieces in here and stuff. I don't know how competitive they're going to be in that division with Detroit just reloading and, ready to go again this season. Green Bay looks like they put themselves in a position to be somewhat successful. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, you bring valid points. I mean, Chicago, I'm glad, he's out of Chicago for one
Mm.
thing. And when you got teams like Detroit, I think is going to be another powerhouse team, I think they were last year. And then depending on the quarterback situation in Minnesota, They could trade up and get a Drake May or even get Jaden Daniels in the top five, depending because they got two first round picks now because they traded up with Houston.
Mhm.
But no, but you have valid points. Chicago, I think they still got a little ways to go. Even if they get a Caleb Williams, and mind you, they brought in Keenan Allen,
Mhm.
could be a valid target, but can he stay healthy? That's his big issue. But long
That's the
story,
thing.
can he stay healthy? Because when he's on, he's on. But when he's hurt, forget it. You won't see him until like half the season, honestly. And it sounds mean, but that's the truth.
I think Keenan Allen has only played 4 full seasons in his career, in his full in it 4 full in it seasons in the NFL. And again, that doesn't bode well for your team when you need that wide receiver out there and he's on the sidelines. I mean, he's not doing you any good. And this is not a knock. And trust me when I say this, this is not a knock on players getting hurt because this is a very violent sport. But what you're looking at paying these guys, and we've actually heard Allen make comments and allude to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin where he feels like his name needs to be mentioned. But again, if you got to stay on the field. You got to stay healthy and be able to contribute. And if you can't do that, I mean, you're only as good as you are when you're on the field.
No, agreed. I mean, I wish him the best. Maybe he might be able to get, back on top, stay healthy, and perform in Chicago. And we'll see. It just depends who's at quarterback. And obviously, it's going to be Caleb Williams. But are they going to get some good out of him in his first year? We don't know. It'll be really interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I haven't been the highest on Caleb Williams. I think he could come in and surprise everybody. But when you're talking about a Chicago Bears team, when you talk about the fan base, when you talk about the media, man, you got to be mentally tough. It's like going to New York, playing in New York. You have to be mentally tough going into a situation like that. And I just, watching Caleb Williams this year, um, I don't know, I had not really followed college football the previous year when everybody was, kind of hyping him up and gassing him up. And so I watched a bunch of games with him and I felt like he's a good quarterback. I'm not gonna knock him. He's a good quarterback, but in those tough situations, I don't know. I'm still undetermined on how he would be. Is this your fourth quarter comeback guy, or what do you get from him in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line, especially in the situation that Chicago finds themselves in?
No, exactly. I mean, I kept someone tabs on Caleb Williams. I wasn't that big into him during his time in college. Jaden Daniels got my attention. Drake May, I think those are going to be good quarterbacks, but Williams might turn out good too. I mean, I could be wrong
Mhm.
for the most part. It'll just be intriguing to see because Chicago did add some pieces,
Yeah.
in a veteran tight end, adding Keenan Allen healthy, and then DeAndre Swift. I mean, I thought Swift had a really good season last year for
Oh yeah.
Philly. So it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously he's going to be number one. So now we see who's going to be number two, number three. Could be Jaden Daniels, could be Drake May. And you can't. And I ain't gonna sleep on Michael Penix. Penix is another one I think underrated. Wherever his situation takes him,
Mhm.
I think he's got a good shot at being a good quarterback.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. So I want to kind of switch gears and kind of get back to the NFC South. And as Christopher Cole had mentioned, the New Orleans Saints have signed Chase Young. Now, uh, honestly, I'm gonna go on record saying this. Uh, I've really paid close attention to Chase Young from 2020 up until the present, only because of the way this guy ran his mouth. And I've paid very close attention to how he plays. I've actually watched his games, and when he wasn't hurt and when he was on the field, um, I just found him to be kind of underwhelming. I expected him to be in that defense with San Francisco and to be able to wreck shop with all those dogs on that line. And I'm still not sure what, if anything, San Francisco actually got out of that, bringing him in. If he was just a warm body, or did you feel like he was a difference maker for San Francisco.
I feel like it was more of a depth piece. You know, they were thinking maybe teaming him with Nick Bosa on the other side, help create pressure. It was like to me, it was a rental. There was no way they were going to be able to dish out the kind of money he's going to get in New Orleans, which I don't know how New Orleans came out with that contract. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, he's just somebody I felt, was on top in 2020, but then when that injury happened, he just kind of fell off. He just wasn't really the type of player that most of us thought he would be as being number 2 pick overall. And as far as New Orleans goes, I mean, good luck, over there, I guess. Or maybe F the Saints. I don't really care for them too much. But to me, I feel like he's not going to make much of a difference. He might show some flashes, but he's not going to be like a 19 sack guy. But
Mhm.
yeah, you're paying this man $13 million for 1 year. I
Yeah.
think that's a little too much of an asking price, and I'm glad that we have a general manager in the front office. I wasn't going to fall for that garbage. No way.
Yeah, he didn't fall for the okey doke. Again, just going out, and I want to ask you guys out in the chat as well. What do you think about Chase Young? I think Chase Young's going to make some splash plays, but when I look at some of the defensive line players that the Saints have had in the past, uh, I don't know. I'm just underwhelmed by what he's done so far. Maybe Allen can get something out of him, but again, I mean, it's just like when Derek Carr signed with the Saints. I kind of am indifferent. That's just the good for them. They've got this guy on their team, and here they are. They're continually kicking the can down the road. Eventually, they're going to have to come and pay due on that in order to rebuild this team and get them to some kind of semblance of what they used to be. But it's going to be wild, just in the next 3-4 years to see what New Orleans kind of does to get themselves on track. Because yeah, you can get one or two splash players, but you're losing when you look at what they've lost so far. It's like, man, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait and see what goes on there.
No, agreed. I mean, eventually they're going to have to, take the hit and
Mhm.
absorb all that money they invested over the years. And the best part is they never won a Super Bowl.
You know, and when you talk about that, and I'm glad you said that, Jason Light, they went ahead and bit the bullet. They could have kicked the can down the road again too. The Bucs could have, but they've gotten out of it. They went ahead and ate the Tom Brady contract, went to the playoffs in the process. And I think if you're a good general manager, if you're a good talent evaluator, you should be able to do that. That's what the Bucs were lacking for years and years. They were lacking good talent evaluators, and it was just so embarrassing. They would miss on players, or they'd bring in free agents that they really shouldn't have brought them in, and they really had no direction, what they really wanted to do. If you look at Bruce Allen from right after the year after the Super Bowl win up until they were shown the door, and you brought in the Raheem Morris era, they missed on so many picks, and they truly did not have a direction. I mean, they didn't address the trenches for nothing, and they would make a pick here and there, but that was it. And they really let this team just kind of go. And then you saw the same thing with the second general manager. They never addressed the trenches. They'd get a flash player here and there, or they would get a name that they could bring in, and that was the extent of it. It wasn't anything that serious. So, what we've been seeing here, I think Bucks fans should really appreciate this, because you didn't have to go through. If you're a new Bucks fan, appreciate this, because it was way worse back in the day.
Oh, no, agreed. I couldn't agree more with that. And think about it. We could have jumped on Deshaun Watson a couple of years ago when Brady retired the first time. And now look, now the Browns are stuck on a contract with him, and he may not last that much longer on the contract. I mean, they already signed 2 quarterbacks already between Jameis and then Huntley,
Yeah.
the quarterback from Baltimore. So that already there's drawing questions like, are they really, really sold on Deshaun Watson?
No.
So props to Jason Lyon, the front office, not falling for these traps or some of this scam that some of these players are trying to bring out, you know, because you're not going to get great value out of that. And we don't want to go back to the bottom of the cellar again. We want to stay on top. And
Yeah,
so,
and that's
and
that's
so,
and it's been a beautiful thing to be competitive throughout these years. And G Vegas, yeah, we talked about this last week about Devin White and his contract, and he did get humbled, and he's coming to the Eagles, in my personal opinion, 2 years too late. If Devin White was coming to the Eagles, not this season but the season before, I don't know that how he would have done competing for a linebacker position, but I can tell you that this Eagles team is not the Eagles team 2 years removed from where they are right now. So I don't know. He's gonna be the star. He's gonna be back there, and he's gonna have to show what he can do.
and I mean, yeah, and plus, the Eagles got some replacing to do on the D line. Fletcher Cox retired, who was a big
Mm,
part of their, in the
yeah,
trenches. So let's see if he can get off blocks. I mean, these teams know how to play against Devin White. They know what to do.
yeah.
Go straight out and block him and pancake him, or not take him like a mile down the field away from the running back. There was just so many inconsistency of Devin White to where there was no way any team in the NFL was going to pay him the money he was demanding. So now he's got a cheap tryout contract with the Eagles, the team he really wanted to be with. He mentioned it last year, being supportive. And I kind of wish the Bucs would have traded him last year. I
Yeah.
kind of wish they would have made that move, got at least a third or a fourth out of him. But now it's like we'll be looking to get a fifth out of it next year's draft. But at the end of the day, Devin White, he just didn't keep going to the start he had in 2020. I
Yeah.
felt like, to where I felt like he was one of the top linebackers, but then he just fell down.
In your opinion, and maybe I'm wrong here, do you feel like he regressed to some
Yes.
extent? I felt
Yes.
like 2020 was probably the most consistent season that we saw from him. Maybe 2021, but I would lean more towards 2020, and just the splash plays he was making, and um, I felt like that was 2020 was his year, but he just could never be consistent. You couldn't get a stretch of games to where you're getting that level of production.
No, you couldn't. And I'll always be thankful for the run we had with him in 2020.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
still, I'm
absolutely.
still, I'm still gonna keep his jersey that I put together. I put the Super Bowl patch on there, the captain logo, because he played like a true captain and helped
Yeah.
us win a Super Bowl. But he did. I mean, if you watch some of his games from last season, the season before, he loafed.
Mhm.
Like the one that got me the most was a Gardner Minshew against the Colts
Oh
in the
yeah,
game to where 2020 Devin would have laid him out easily. He would
yeah.
have put him on his ass. But instead, he got juked or spun out of his shoes
He's
and
flat.
got
Yeah, he's flat-footed.
and that right there was already asking, it's pretty much stating, and this man wants 20 million, but you regress, bro. You didn't make the tackle, and that's what you're paid to do at linebackers. You make the tackles, you stop the scrambling, you stop the run plays.
Mhm. Yeah, you do your job. Uh, Krillin, how you doing? Thank you for checking us out. Lucky Lucy, thank you so much. Charles Jensen, how you doing? Yeah, just to that point, I'm not gonna. I love Devin White. I love his energy. It's just when he got in his feelings, it was just it was kind of painful to watch. And in this era of social media, when you're subtweeting and putting a bunch of BS out there, and that's the only news that's going on right now, it just amplifies. And I'm just glad that that distraction isn't on this team this year. So I think it's definitely a plus for us, and we can kind of go into the season and just pretty much enjoy watching these players play.
Agreed. And I thought Bevatar Bowles, man, he really stuck his neck out for
Yeah,
him,
he did.
defending him like a father figure, to where Bowles couldn't save it no more. Bowles finally had to put his foot down, put his bib with pants on, and put in a player that will go out there and make the plays. And KJ Britt did a pretty decent job. Even, don't sleep on JJ Russell. I like what he did when he stepped in there.
Mhm.
So really, I'm fine with Levante David, KJ Britt, and then Savasi Dennis, I know was a name brought up, but he played Levante David's spot. So I don't know if they're going to move him over to test him out on the other side. We'll wait and see.
Mhm.
But I like where the linebacker group is going, this coming season.
Yeah, and this is what I would love more than anything. Football gods come through for me. I would love to see a healthy linebacker room just to see what this team has as far as linebacker goes. Where I mean, I think it's stunted his growth when you talk about Servassier Dennis. Those injuries, those nagging injuries, stunted his growth off of his rookie season. So, again, he's one of those players. I got a list of players that I'm excited and looking forward to seeing this year. And he's definitely one of those. Outside of that, I think that you have to trust the process. I believe that Jason Light has done enough, for this team to for us to trust the process that him and his coaching staff that he's working with have going on. So really excited about that. Just everybody, just people that came back. I mean, and again, I go back to what I said last week, man. That's how somebody had mentioned Whitehead, and that's how you handle business. I mean, he realized, hey, man, this was just a money deal, and they couldn't afford me. He went to another team. The opportunity presented itself, and he came back to Tampa, and that to me is exciting. I don't think you burn bridges. I think you just, hey, this is a business, and you keep it as low key as you can, and you never know if something like that happens because I tell you, you don't have to pay income tax or state taxes or anything like that. It's just a nice place to live. You don't have to worry about that kind of thing, and the weather's always nice, or the majority of the time. So definitely a win-win if you're in Tampa, and I'm sure that these guys definitely understand that. So, Richard, how you doing, Richard? Um, so to me, again, going back to what we were talking about at the top of the show, man, I'm happy with the moves that were made, and these guys now all they got to do is put it all together and get out there and play as a unit, and everybody does their job. And I think the fan base will be very pleasantly surprised with the encore from last year.
No, I
Oh,
couldn't
man,
agree
Donnie.
more. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see the preseason training camp come up. Most of all, the draft next month. We're going to be adding pretty much 6 to 7 new Buccaneers to the roster that could be big contributors. And I think we're going to have a much more continuity going into next season to where, yeah, we got Liam Cohen, but he kind of runs a similar offense, and him and Baker already have a good relationship. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table.
And I would say this, when you talk about the nuances of the game, I think he's a little bit more experienced and he understands what he needs to do, and he understands game time decisions and personnel, as he's called plays before, so he knows what he's doing. Whereas we had somebody who they never called plays on the pro level or the collegiate level. So I think this is huge, that I feel like we're upgrading, and you don't have somebody that's coming in learning on the job. You have somebody that's coming in, he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to make things work. So let's hope that that process definitely continues.
No, well said. Well said. That's how I felt the moment he first came here. Is that I think he's going to perfect the running game a little bit better than what Dave Canales will.
Mhm.
Not a knock on Dave Canales. He did some good here,
He was just
but
stubborn. He was stubborn the way he ran the ball, and I and again, maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I just felt like there were times where you've got the defense on their heels. You got to switch it up a little bit and keep them on their heels. But people got wise to some of the plays. So again, I understand what he was trying to do, and again, I think a more seasoned offensive coordinator would have seen things a little bit different, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for with our new OC.
oh, you mean both, man. I think we're going to see some good things, man. I think Mike's going to have another killer season. I like Chris Godwin back in the slot. That's another thing that I think is going to help contribute as well from Liam Cohen. That he's going to move him to the slot more and then play him on the outside to open up more pass plays. because I don't want to see Baker keep getting hit the way he did last year.
No,
He took some major hits to where you gotta take care of your quarterback, and you cannot let him keep
100%.
taking those rough hits.
Yeah. And, I believe that that's one of the main things they're going to be working on is that offensive line. I felt like, and how did you feel? But I felt like towards the back end of the season, the offensive line was starting to gel. They were starting to play together as a unit, not as individual players. And I felt like they were really coming together towards the back end of the season. How did you feel about that?
No, I felt the same way. I felt like the
I mean, they were on the
oh
struggle bus at the beginning of the season. I'll give them that. But,
yes.
you know towards the middle or back into the season where everybody was getting familiar with each other, everybody's getting used to playing with each other, they look different than they did at the beginning of the season.
No, they did. They started coming out a lot more strong, and Baker was playing more confident. I mean, when I watched the Green Bay game, I was like, wow. And then the Jacksonville game being there live, watching this offense moving the ball so well and scoring touchdowns and stuff. I mean, this could be a real treat to watch this coming season if we do upgrade on a center or a guard in the draft. I'm really curious to see how well we're going to be able to run the football because you got to be able to run the ball. If you cannot run the ball, it's going to create a lot more havoc on the offensive side where defenses are going to be watching us. And we got a tough schedule coming up. We got good teams coming to Tampa,
Yeah.
and we're going to Kansas City. So let's go, man. I'm ready.
Yeah, there we go. All right. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and we were last year. We were watching some of these teams that everybody thought were going to be good, and then they ended up, falling flat or just not even recovering from where they started at. And so we're looking at coaches, and I thought this was kind of an interesting subject going into 2024. Who are your top 5 coaches that you feel are on the hot seat? And what I'll do, because I gave you the show notes so late, I'll go first uh, with mine, and then you can pick whatever teams you want to. Um, and I do have an honorable mention. I got 5, but I've got an honorable mention here. And the first one I'm gonna start with is Brian Dable from the New York Giants. Um, I really don't know how you have a competitive team this season. I'm not sure if that's at all possible. I'm not sure what it's going to take to get this team competitive. Just based on free agency and the players that have left and the quality of players that they're bringing in, I don't know how much more rope do you give this guy. You know how bad does he have to be? But I would think that they would just start the rebuilding process and move on from the GM and the coach. But again, I'm not there in New York. I'm not sure how everybody else is viewing this, but Brian Dable has to be up there for coach on the hot seat.
No,
And then I'm just going. Let me go on down my list here. I got Nick Sirianni from the Philadelphia Eagles, definitely on the hot seat this year. Robert Saleh, the New York Jets. I've got him on the hot seat. You'll have a healthy Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how that all plays out. If he can kind of turn things around and make this team competitive in that division, that has been, with New England, the super New England Patriots teams are no longer existent. So this is an opportunity for him to come in there and do something. So we'll see how that goes. The guy that we were talking about earlier, Matt Eberflus from Chicago, definitely on the hot seat. And rounding it out, number 5, I have Dennis Allen. Honorable mention is the coach for the Dallas Cowboys. I think, if the Dallas Cowboys don't win the Super Bowl, you got to fire this dude. But that's just my personal opinion. Oh, that's a good one. Bud's got a good one here. Sean Payton. I didn't even think about him. But not to steal your thunder or anything, but who are your top 5? And you could throw in an honorable mention if you need to. Who are your top 5 head coaches right now going into the season that you feel are on the hot seat?
Oh yeah, definitely. You pointed out most of them, but from five, I guess Nick Sirianni. I think he's got a lot of heat coming to him from last season. To me, he's gonna have to have a big year. Like I'm talking about NFC Championship type year, or not. Philly's gonna riot. Sean Payton was another one. I feel like there's been a lot of turmoil in the Denver organization to where now they end up letting their star quarterback go for nothing. Now they're paying most of his salary this year because him and Sean Payton didn't get along. Robert Saleh, make it or break it. Even without Rodgers, you're still a defensive minded coach to where you should be able to keep your team in the game. Let's see, I named three. And then, of course, Brian Dable. I mean, I'm amazed he still has a job now after the way he's been, losing the playoffs. No disrespect. I mean, I just feel like the team doesn't respect him.
Yeah.
And then Mike McCarthy, of course, Super Bowl are gone, but I think his contract's up after this coming season. So either way, either he's going to perform and get a contract extension, or he's going to be let go. And then my surprise one, I'll put in Kevin O'Connell from the Minnesota Vikings. I
That's a
think
good one.
I think after losing Kirk Cousins, but you still got Jetta, and you still got some of the offensive pieces, and the defense is going to be, I think, a little bit better with those two edges they added. But Kevin O'Connell thinks will be the surprise one that many people will be surprised. He might get let go, even though he had a great season a couple seasons ago. But now you're in a downward spiral to where you need to win because the other division opponents they're competing.
Yeah, most definitely. And I can't argue with that list, man. I didn't even think about Minnesota, but man, the Norris division has always been competitive, but with the emergence of Detroit, the way Detroit played last year, man, everybody's got to play catch up just to be competitive with that team. And they look like they're ready to do it again, man. I mean, they've just reloaded. They are not rebuilding anything. So I think the draft will be interesting to see what they do, young players that they can put in place. And this is a team that's going to be ready to roll this year.
I'm telling you, don't sleep on Minnesota. I just feel like they just need a quarterback. If they get the right
Mhm.
quarterback in there, I think they could compete, maybe not for a division, but maybe a playoff spot, which I think would keep O'Connell's job. But like I said, when the draft comes, it'll be interesting to see if they really trade up and get one of those top three quarterbacks, or
They
even JJ
have
McCarthy.
they have to. Nobody in their right mind is going into the season with Sam Darnold.
Nope, not at
They're just
all.
that guy is just bad. I mean, he's fleecing teams. I don't know who's the bigger fleecer here, but he's got to be up there. Him or what's my guy Nate? What's the guy the backup over in New Orleans?
Oh, Nathan Peterman.
Peterman. Yeah, I don't know who's a bigger hustler out of these two guys, but I can tell you what, man. Nobody in their right mind is honestly seeing Sam Darnold going in as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's just not existent. There has to be something else cooking on the back burners there going into the draft. They have to do something. It's just you can't go in with this guy.
I mean, look at Sean Payton. Look at his quarterback room. I think he's only got one quarterback. He's got Jarrett Stidham. I mean, this. I'm telling you, it's really bad right now for some of these teams, and that's why I feel like Sean Payton, is another one. And they're in cap hell, so they can't go sign a big time player.
And my thing, man, Sean Payton is a pretender. Sean Payton had a first ballot Hall of Famer and only walked out of there with one Super Bowl. One Super Bowl.
One Super Bowl
And
and no more
and
than
I
that.
and
That's
I
it.
can and I can tell you this. I know that I'll probably get some hate for saying this. If they don't do that trick play against Indianapolis at the beginning of the second half, they don't win that game. Then that's all I'm going to say about that. That was the momentum killer right there. He did it. Props to him and what they did, but they weren't able to ever regain that magic again. And I'm sorry, as long as Mickey Loomis is the GM over there, I used to like that guy and what he was doing until I realized that you're just kicking the can down the road. Um, New Orleans going to be in this situation for years,
Oh,
years.
oh yeah, no, I'm telling you, the fans and keep hoping and praying for a miracle, but I just don't see them winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. or at least not even contending for a playoff spot for even. I have to say that. Yeah, Derek Carr has shown some flashes, but at the same
He's shown
time,
flashes in Oakland.
exactly, and he's Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And then the defense ain't getting any younger. Demario Davis is like almost at 40. He's at 36, 37 years old. And then Cam Jordan's punk ass, what he used to be. And he's still talking shit, still talking
Yeah.
crap. And that's Tristan Wirfs' son.
Yeah, well, I've already laid this whole my conspiracy theory out there is that Tampa passed him over, and he stayed spicy about Tampa ever since then. Ever since then, he gets up for the Bucs because they passed him over for the draft in when he was drafted, and he's still in his feelings about it, and he probably will be until he retires. But that's for another time. Really great points here about Sean Payton. I personally, having seen Sean Payton, I think Sean Payton is a pretender. I don't think he's the genuine artifact, to be honest. And he had a chance, with the first ballot Hall of Famer, and he got smoked like a Cohiba, man. He got that Super Bowl, and they made a whole bunch of playoff runs, which is good. It's always good for the fan base, make them feel warm and fuzzy inside and ready to think about next year and coming back and doing it again. But I don't know. I just feel like him and Belichick. You've kind of seen the proof is out there. Once Tom Brady left, Belichick wasn't the same man, and I would be have been shocked if he would have been successful on another team in the NFL. So that's kind of how I feel with Peyton. He could go somewhere else. I do not believe that he would be that successful. I think Drew Brees was just a special quarterback.
Oh no, Drew Brees was. Even though I hated playing against him twice a year, but the man had a hell of a career. I'm saying
He
we,
did.
we had a rough time in the division over the years, man. Playing Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, and Drew Brees twice a
Yeah.
season. That wasn't easy, man. That was rough times, man.
Yeah. And we were bad. We were really bad, really, really bad. So we couldn't even compete with those guys. Oh, and
Nope.
then the Saints, he called in Clowney 2.0.
Oh Lord.
Dang.
And he's still out there looking for a job. Jadavion Clowney. He haven't found
Yeah,
a team
he's
yet.
done. He might as well retire. It's so crazy. You've got these players that made these freak plays and it put them on the map. And I remember Clowney Clowney tackled somebody, and the way he did it, the highlight just played throughout the whole draft, and they kept playing it over and over and over again. And then, unfortunately for him, he couldn't stay healthy, and the rest of his career is history. That's kind of like Odell Beckham Jr. The guy makes that one-handed catch, and that's all everybody talks about is the one-handed catch. And I mean, that's what people like. There is a video of him making that catch, and when they're talking about where is he going to go next, I mean, you don't see a whole lot of other, impressive plays. I mean, yeah, I'm sure he can help an offense, but he isn't, he's just not that guy. So, who knows? He may retire. As Justice Muhammad mentioned, on a side note here, Aaron Donald retired.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. That came out of nowhere. He came a little late after free agency. I guess he was still debating if he wanted to keep playing or not, because they could have gotten a D tackle or two to replace him. So now they're going to go in the draft and try to find someone close that can play at a high level as him. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know how they're going to be able to replace him, especially this late in the free agency.
Man, he's a generational player. I don't know that you just go out and just replace him. I think like you mentioned, you've got to go out and be heavy within the draft to, or heavy in the free agency to get somebody that you can at least get that's serviceable, you know. And again, props to him and what he's accomplished. I look at Kalijah Cansey and I'm just like, man, there's a picture of them standing next to each other. And I'm like, well, could this be? Is this something that we could potentially see? I'm not gonna get too far ahead of myself, but I like what I'm seeing from Kalijah Cansey, and I would just like even a percentage of what Aaron Donald's bringing with that motor that he has. And I hope that that's what we can kind of get out of a Kalijah Cansey.
Yeah, I mean, Cansey, if he wouldn't have got hurt, injured, who knows how he could have really, really played his rookie year. Maybe he could have been defensive rookie of the year. We don't know. And that's why I'm excited, year two. Hopefully he stays healthy and we'll get maybe a little bit of Aaron Donald out of him because he kind of reminds me of him too a little bit.
Yeah, they're
From his,
built just the same. It's crazy.
oh yeah, and he was picking his brain at the time when he was at Pittsburgh. You already know
Yeah.
that.
Oh, absolutely. Oh man, Charles, this is a great point. Charles Jansen says, "Lucky we drafted Mike Evans instead of Odell Beckham Jr. and Kelvin Benjamin." That is the truth. I mean, you've got the level, the highest, the gold standard of consistency with Mike Evans and what he's continually done, man. I mean, that's what the majority of my jerseys are Mike Evans. I'm a little bit biased, but um, I am getting my Sue jersey here within the next couple of days, so you'll see me rocking an Dominican Sue jersey just because I love that guy so much. So I don't know. Um, let's see here. Clowney is better than Young and somehow managed to have a lucrative career so far. Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I can agree with that. Bud Cannibal says, of course not. No, there's no way. I would lose my mind if Odell Beckham Jr. got a gold jacket. It just would it can't happen. He was a good player. I'm not knocking him, but Hall of Fame, no. I just don't see it. Odell Beckham Jr. will have support for the gold jacket, but in no way should he get in. No. If they've got a ring of honor, I mean, maybe New York could put him in the ring of honor. I don't even know if he was in New York long enough to really qualify for their ring of honor. I don't even know if they even have one. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Yaya Diaby does look good. He really does, Charles. You're spot on with that. That's kind of how I feel about it. You think, and I'm going to ask you this: you think Cansey is quicker than Joe McCoy off the ball? Justice, table this question until the end of the season. I want to get a full season of Kalijah Cansey, not just the sample size we got with the injury that he had. I can't really, you see flashes, but I'd like to see a consistent picture before even saying that, just to be fair.
No, I agree. It's too soon to tell. I mean, so far, Kansas off to a pretty damn good start coming off an injury like that he suffered in training camp.
Yeah.
Now let's see a full year of two. I mean, so far, I like what I see.
And I love him. I love him right there next to Vita Vea. And that makes me happy. That puts a smile on my face.
Absolutely. And I think he brings out the best out of the other players on the defense. Logan Hall hopefully will step it up and we'll get some production out of him. And year 3 for him.
Do you think that Logan Hall is a late bloomer? And do you feel like from where he started to where he is now that you've seen major improvement out of him? Or I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit harsh with him, but there are so many times that I've seen him where he just gets lost in the sauce on a play and he gets so mixed up that I don't even know that he knows what he's supposed to be doing. There was one time he just happened into a sack, and it wasn't like he was going to get the sack. It just happened that he had gotten turned around or something like that, and he ended up with this guy, with the quarterback right there. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about him still. That's, but it's only fair with players that have been in the league. You got to give them at least 3 years to get some semblance of an idea of how good or how bad they are or where they are. You can't just really judge it off year 1, year 2. And then we got to consider too that Hall was playing behind somebody his rookie season. So again, I don't know. We just kind of have to, I kind of had to take a step back and say, yeah, we just got to give him a little bit more time to see what he does.
No, I agree. I feel like he's going to have some production. I'm not saying he's going to be a sack leader, but I think in the run game, shutting down the run, he could be a big body, taking on 2 blocks, hopefully free up Kalijah Cansey or Vita Vea. That's the way I look at it. To me, a role player, run stuffer, more than a sack artist. Pressure-wise, we'll see. But I like him in year 3. I think it's time. We'll see what we're really going to get out of him in year 3.
Yeah. And Justice was talking about let's see, what did all may not survive. I don't, you know what? That's the thing. That's where he's got to shine this year. This is the year. I mean, no more excuses. This is the year he's got to come out there and show what it's about right here. Um, that's kind of the way I've been looking at this.
Well, luckily he was a second round pick, so there ain't no fifth year option. It's either this season or might be on the trade block or on the cup chopping block.
Yep. And we had to move on. Justice says JTS is trash. I think that's another player that could potentially not, they're gonna have to make a decision on him pretty soon. And again, he hasn't been consistent. He's made plays, but then again, there have been times where he's out of position. He's another player sometimes that could get lost in the sauce. So I don't know. These are guys. This is what I love about this season. There are some guys that really have to prove who they are on this team. They have to stand out above everybody else, and do their job, go out there and do what they know that they can do. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Oh, after the Desmond murder, him not making that tackle, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, but you had your opportunity, and you're way more athletic not to miss that play.
Yeah.
And that put us behind, and we had to come back and win the game to where he could have made that tackle. Because I think that was a fourth down play, Gene. I could be
Yeah, it was.
wrong.
It was a fourth down.
And that's what hurts the most. Like, you would have made a game-changing play, and you missed it completely, and you embarrassed yourself on that. I know plays happen, but you're going to your fourth season. You're in your third season, and any other of those guys would have made that tackle.
Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, all good, all good. That's all I gotta say. He's definitely gonna have to really make it or break it, whether he's a run stuffer or not. Or not, he's gonna be a free agent this year.
Yep, absolutely, man. So it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Really good points. He never sets the edge. I agree. He's been very consistent with that. And I 100% agree with that. And I'm like, man, you see a play setting up and you're like, oh man, he's got the angle, and we've seen some bad angles. You just seen a little bit of everything. And again, this is when you hone your craft and get better in the off season and do what you need to do. So, that's hopefully that's what these guys are doing, is getting ready to showcase what they can do, because this is the year that they move on to someplace else, and this is the year that they prove that they belong on this team or something. So let's see here. Trade back for Logan Hall's weak sauce. Yeah, but again, he passes the eye test. At the time he did. I thought there were other players that I wanted to see Jason look at, but I trust the process. Again, can't always get it right. And he's just one of those guys. I think physically he should be doing more. If you look at his physical presence, he should be doing more, but just kind of the way it is. But anyway, guys, I only meant to stay on for like 30 minutes. I figured we would come on. I know that, Tampa Tones is out of town, enjoying his best, he's living his best life. And I figure, we want to make sure that the Buccateers are on every Monday. And we want to just kind of make sure that we hold to that. And so I thought it was important that we come on and make sure that the listeners have something to listen to a little bit going into the regular part of the week. Buccateers will be back on Thursday at 6:15. Is that when Tones does his thing?
Yeah, usually 6:15, 6:30 the latest. That's when we'll go live. And stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So J-Lo, final thoughts, man, before we roll up out of here.
Nah, man, that was fun. It was a fun pod Monday, going from 30 almost an hour. And looking forward to see what happens this week. Maybe add another key depth piece, to the roster. Just be on the lookout. Maybe go find an edge. I think it's one of the main things we're missing. Of course, free agency, we're not going to find one. So I think draft time, that's what I'm looking at in the first round, either receiver or edge. depending who falls.
Yeah, there we go. And folks, I got a new arch enemy, and that is Kurt. Glad he's not my cousins over there in Atlanta. I can't, he could go in there to the I can't stand that guy list. I thought he was a decent quarterback. I don't think he's a world beater, but he'll make things interesting here in the NFC South. As far as I'm concerned, Atlanta will be very competitive. You've got a very competent head coach. You've got a decent quarterback, and you got some really nice pieces, and they could be the competition, not the New Orleans Saints this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but I can't say that they'll go very far with a Kirk Cousins. So, but that's just my personal opinion, and I'm biased because I hate Atlanta. So, and anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say. Those are my final thoughts. To everybody hates the Saints. For me, it's Atlanta. I guess I'm the opposite of everybody else, but I hate them. I liked it better. Oh, and keep in mind, folks, in 10 days it will be 3/28, Atlanta Falcons Day. Be sure to celebrate in the best way you know how. But anyway, it's pretty much it for me. My man J-Lo, Buccateers. Try to get more of the Buccateers on here, but everybody's got their own thing going on right now. You will have my man Tampa Tones back at the helm on Thursday, and we'll definitely be rocking and rolling. That's it for us, man. Everybody have a good night, and thank you so much for checking us out. Peace.
Fire the cannons. Go Bucs.
Fire the cannons. Go